Zendikar Rising, the 85th expansion for Magic the Gathering, arrived on September 25, 2020. It's the sixth set to take place on the plane of Zendikar following 2016's Oath of the Gatewatch. Unlike with the previous few Zendikar sets, the storyline no longer features the Eldrazi. Rather, players are able to see how the plane is recovering from the ruin they caused. Of course, just because the Eldrazi are gone doesn't mean that there aren't other dangers that the plane's citizens must withstand.
I really wanted to kind of recapture what I thought was the cool thing of Zendikar, which is original Zendikar, Adventure World Zendikar. So from the get-go, the idea was Zendikar's moving on, the Eldrazi are gone, and we're going to start a brand new, we're going to continue on without them, and hopefully things will get a little better for us.
The story of Zendikar Rising was told over a handful of stories that were published on the Magic the Gathering website, and here is a summary of it all. Previous to the story's beginning, during the events that occurred during the Gatewatch's battle against the Eldrazi Titans Ulamog and Kozilek, the angel Iona left her perch at her skyclave, Ameria, to assist in Zendikar's defenses. In her absence from the skyclave, which is the ruin of a millennia-year-old ancient floating fortress that the once authoritative core used to keep Zendikar in line, would-be treasure hunters used the opportunity to try and loot it. In doing so, however, they set off a chain reaction that caused the rest of the ancient skyclaves, which had laid dormant for centuries, to re-emerge. Now that more of these skyclaves have come out, each with presumably awesome ancient core relics to loot, treasure hunting had become a thriving endeavor in this post-Eldrazi world. Fast forward to the aftermath of War of the Spark on the plane of Ravnica, and the Zendikar native planeswalkers Nahiri, a core lithomancer, and Nissa, an elf, are in conversation. The two women somewhat bond over their shared experience with the Eldrazi, as Nahiri expresses a want to find a way to return Zendikar to the way it was before the Eldrazi's emerged. This caught the elf by surprise.
You do?
She blurted in surprise, then awkwardly added,
Sorry, I mean, you're not exactly known for healing after what you did on Innistrad.
Nahiri raised an eyebrow.
Says the person who set the Eldrazi free.
Either way, the two travel back home to Zendikar together and soon find themselves at the entrance to the Akum Skyclave. Nahiri tells Nissa that, inside, they should be able to find a relic that will help them save Zendikar. After looting the Skyclave, Nahiri finds a key that she says will help her unlock something called a lithoform core, which is housed, of course, in a different Skyclave. As this key also houses some of the Skyclave's power within it, Nahiri uses it to calm the Roil, the natural phenomenon on Zendikar in which the land constantly terraforms itself beneath the ruin. To Nissa's horror, the energy emitted from the key also kills nearly every living thing in the Skyclave, including the elemental Nissa had created to assist them in their search. Seeing the key's effect on the Roil, Nahiri, who had lived since before the Roil began, gets excited about the prospect of calming the plane so the core civilization can rise to glory once again and make Zendikar great again, despite the effects such actions might have on others. Nissa, however, who has never known Zendikar without the Roil, grows concerned that the reality that Nahiri is trying to recreate isn't the reality that best suits the plane. To that end, she travels back to Ravnica to meet with Jace Beleren. In audience with Jace, Nissa explains what it is that Nahiri seems to be trying to accomplish on Zendikar, and how she disagrees with both her methods and her end goal. Jace, trying to be fair, leaves open the possibility that Nahiri might be on the right track. This rightfully angers Nissa, who abruptly departs. Jace, thinking he might have made a mistake, follows after her to try and mend things with the elf. Nahiri, meanwhile, now lacking Nissa's assistance, has enlisted a number of other Zendikari to help her loot other Skyclaves in search of relics that will help her towards her end goal. With the assistance of a party of adventurers consisting of the warrior Akiri, rogue Zareth, wizard Kaza, and cleric Aura, Nahiri successfully plunders the Mursara Skyclave and locates the lithoform core, which is essentially a huge energy source. After looting the core, the party finds themselves being chased out of the Skyclave by an elemental. In part to demonstrate the power of their newfound relic, while also saving their skin, Nahiri uses it to destroy the elemental, though at the cost of turning Zareth to stone, as he was too close to Nahiri when she activated the artifact. Akiri, realizing the danger the relic possesses, tries to take it from Nahiri, but it doesn't go well and she is flung from the floating structure. Luckily for her, Nissa and Jace were at the base of the Skyclave preparing for their ascent when the warrior lands safely in the elf's net of vines. The trio witness Nahiri leaving in a hurry. Jace is able to use his Mind Mage talents to quickly scan her mind and discover that she is off to the Singing City. The Singing City is where a series of ley lines converge, which would allow the Lithomancer to make a series of changes to the plane from one convenient location. Separately, the trio take off after her, with Nissa going on her own and Akiri guiding Jace to the location, though the warrior only goes as far as the city's edge before departing. As Jace explores the city, the magic of the ancient ruins forms in his head like a humming sound as it threatens to overwhelm his mind. He bumps into Nahiri and asks her to hand over the Skyclave core. She, of course, refuses and ventures farther into the ruin. Jace follows despite the humming growing stronger and threatening to drive them both mad. The Mind Mage, realizing the danger, casts a silencing spell to quell the noises for both he and the Lithomancer, an action which Nahiri, truthfully, appreciates. In exchange, she allows Jace to accompany her to study the mechanism at the city's center, which she hopes will allow her to spread the power from the Skyclave's core across the plane. The pair reach the device, only to find that it's been demolished. Nissa had gotten there first and used her elementals to crush it. Nahiri is justifiably pissed off. Jace tries to keep the peace, but it's to no avail, as the two women have at one another, with Nahiri ultimately fleeing deeper into the ruined city. Jace chases after her, and after catching up with her, pleads with her once more to relinquish the core. Instead of complying, Nahiri calls upon a series of hedrons that come down upon Jace, intent on binding him. Jace, in response, creates an illusion of Nahiri's persona non grata, Soren Markov, and distracts her well enough for him to enter into her mind and convince her telepathically to hand the core over. He then takes it out of the Singing City with intent to hand it over to Nissa. Once at the city's limits, he's suddenly pinned to the ground by Ashaya, a living embodiment of Zendikar's soul, as summoned by Nissa. The elemental takes the core from Jace and tosses it to the elven planeswalker. She considers destroying the relic, but before she can decide, Nahiri appears and begins tearing through Nissa's elementals. That's when the core itself reaches out to Nissa, informing her that the relic is an ancient piece of Zendikar created to undo damage. It tells Nissa simply to trust in her own strength. Realizing that she's almost out of time, as Nahiri closes in on her, the elf activates the core as she imagines what she considers to be the better version of Zendikar. Almost instantly, Zendikar changes to Nissa's ideal version. Eager to explore this new, healing Zendikar, the elven planeswalker drops the now spent core and leaves the scene, catapulted by a swirling mass of vines. Nahiri, knowing her chance to launch her own ideal version of the plane is now gone, spouts her frustrations to Jace before planeswalking away in an annoyed huff. Jace, now finally having a moment to consider his own actions in all of this, comes to the conclusion that Nissa was probably right to use the core the way she had. And with that, the story of Zendikar Rising concludes, with Zendikar healing and reforming the way Nissa wants, and Nahiri once again departing her home plane in anger. Of course, there's more to Zendikar Rising than just the narrative. Now let's take a look at the set in card form. With design headed up by Mark Rosewater and development co-led by Eric Lauer and Andrew Brown, Zendikar Rising consists of 280 cards plus a variety of variants and promos. Wizards changed things up a bit in terms of what a booster pack is this time around by getting rid of the traditional booster pack and replacing it with two versions of it. a 16-card draft booster that was more or less the same as before, as well as a 12-card set booster that was targeted towards those who preferred to crack booster packs without the intent to draft them.
This is really, it's not for drafting, it's just meant to crack open and get an experience of what's in the set.
Also, in 25% of set boosters, players can find a bonus card from The List, which was a curated, ever-rotating list of 300 cards from Magic the Gathering's past. To differentiate a list card from its original printing, the card features a tiny Planeswalker symbol in the bottom corner. In addition to the 2 versions of booster packs, Zendikar Rising was also sold via theme boosters, collector boosters, a bundle, and 2 commander decks. Near the end of the year, Wizards also released a gift edition bundle that contained 10 booster packs, 1 collector pack, and other items. Wizards also released welcome boosters, which are sample packs designed to be given away for free to new Magic players as a means to welcome them into the game. Each welcome booster contained exactly the same 10 cards and included 2 foils, and cards from Zendikar Rising, Theros Beyond Death, and a few from the different commander releases from 2018 through 2020. Harkening back to the Masterpiece series bonus cards found in the previous Zendikar block from 2016, Wizards of the Coast released a subset of land cards called Zendikar Rising Expeditions. While the list of 30 lands from across Magic's history served as a box topper bonus card for those who purchased booster boxes of Zendikar Rising, the cards, which includes the likes of Scalding Tarn, Ancient Tomb, and Strip Mine, and more, could also be found in collector boosters. 2 mechanics make the return in Zendikar Rising with Kicker, an ability keyword that lets you pay an additional cost for a bonus effect, and Landfall, an ability native to Zendikar that triggers whenever a land enters play under your control. New with the set are 2 more mechanics. First is a Dungeons & Dragons inspired party system. A party looks to see if you have at least one of each of the following creature types among creatures you control: Cleric, Rogue, Warrior, and Wizard. Effects then scale based upon the size of your party.
We give you party. That's we've never quite done that before. So
Yeah.
What do you look at to figure out how to make party work?
Developing party was definitely difficult because, having 1 or 2 creatures in play reliably is already hard enough. And, once you get up to 4, it's like, well, geez, I don't know. I do think party was our biggest challenge. When everybody gets to build their deck with any card they want, keeping a lot of creatures around is really difficult. So coming up with the creatures and the rewards for party was, I think, probably the toughest part.
The other new mechanic is modal double face cards. Similar to double face cards of the past, these cards have faces on both sides. This time around though, you can choose which face to use when playing the card, rather than the card flipping or transforming after being in play.
A modal double face card is one in which you can cast either side. It doesn't change between the sides. Once it's on the battlefield, that's what it is. Once you choose it, there's no changing it. Although, you could bounce it or something, but the card itself does not transform in any way.
It definitely allowed us to add more, I would say, niche or narrow effects that you wouldn't put in your deck because it's on the back of a land. So, the cost of playing something more narrow isn't as high because you can just put it onto the battlefield as a land. So for play design, it really opened us up to put more unique effects onto cards instead of just, kind of like the normal, just generic playable stuff we have to do. So it was really cool to kind of think about, what wouldn't players play in their everyday decks and staple that onto the lands.
In terms of cycles, Zendikar Rising boasts 14. Some of those worth mentioning include monocolored legendary characters at Mythic, 4 creatures and 1 planeswalker, each of which having a casting cost of 3 or higher. Double-faced Mythic sorceries, each of which have a sorcery spell on one side and a land on the back side that enters tapped, unless you want to play 3 life. And 3 other double-faced cycles, 1 at rare and 2 at uncommon, which each feature a spell or creature of some sort on one side and a tap land on the other. There are also a handful of card cycles that are broken up not by color, but rather by creature type, to play into the set's party mechanics such as Relics at uncommon, 1 for each party class type. They either reference the respective class or synergize with the draft theme for that class. Full party creatures at rare, 1 for each party class type that each trigger when a player controls a full party. And Expeditioners at common, again 1 for each party class type. They get stronger if you control another creature of the same type. In terms of individual cards of note, Zendikar Rising has a handful, including one that wound up being banned. Agadim's Awakening, a double face card with a powerful recursion spell on one side and a pain land on the other. Charix the Raging Isle, a legendary creature that had, at the time, the highest printed toughness of any creature in black bordered magic at 17. Malakir Rebirth, a double face card that has a tap land on one side and a key combo piece on the other for decks such as Scam and Modern and Legacy that wanted to get around Evoke sacrifice triggers. Omnath, Locus of Creation, the 4th iteration of the legendary Omnath creature. Despite it being a 4-color creature, it was surprisingly easy to cast on or above curve and was easy to abuse if built around correctly. At the 2020 Grand Finals, decks running Omnath, Locus of Creation dominated the metagame with a 70% share of the field. As a result, it became banned in Standard in February of 2021. Seagate Restoration, a double-phase card drawing spell that eliminates one's maximum hand size for the remainder of the game, but also has a pain land on the other side. Skyclave Apparition, a white control card that can take out one of an opponent's threats as an enter the battlefield ability. It's seen play in a number of formats ranging from Standard to Legacy and beyond. And Skyclave Relic, the first non-creature artifact printed with the indestructible mechanic in roughly 9 years. When it comes to promotional cards, pre-release participants receive the usual date stamp foil rare or mythic rare with their pre-release pack. The Buy a Box promo was a foil alternate art Orosh Skyclave Hierophant, and the bundle promo was a foil alternate art Charix the Raging Isle. The set also continued the use of the universal promo pack that was introduced earlier in the year for prize support promos. As far as the set's reception, Zendikar Rising faced a mixed bag from players. A good percentage of players seemed to enjoy the set's limited experience, but others found the set to be lacking compared to others in terms of constructed play. Either way, here's Magic the Gathering head designer Mark Rosewater's take on it.
I look back at Zendikar Rising, like I said, there's a lot of fun stuff there. I think Party had some challenges from a constructed standpoint. And one of the things I always have to think about is, are we building mechanics that people downstream of me can work with? And I think Party caused some problems for play design that were interesting. And when we go back in this kind of area again, we have to think about, I think NBFCs, especially land NBFCs, were a giant hit. So I look at Zendikar Rising, I was pretty happy where it came out.
So what are your thoughts on Zendikar Rising? Let us know in the comments section. And please remember to click on those like and subscribe buttons. If you can, please toss a buck in our tip jar on Patreon to support more videos like this one. Thank you very much for your support.